Every morning at exactly 7:15, Sophie walked through the city's central train station on her way to work. She worked at a small bakery near the river and started her shift early each day. Her life was simple and predictable. She lived alone in a small apartment, worked hard, and spent most evenings watching movies or talking to her grandmother on the phone. Sometimes she wondered if life would always stay the same. One rainy Monday morning, Sophie was hurrying through the crowded station when someone accidentally bumped into her. Her coffee spilled onto the floor. "Oh no!" she cried. Before she could react, a young man quickly handed her several napkins. "I'm so sorry," he said. "That was my fault." Sophie looked up and saw kind brown eyes and a nervous smile. The man looked embarrassed. "It's okay," she said, smiling slightly. "Accidents happen." The train arrived at that moment, and before either could say more, the crowd carried them in different directions. Sophie thought she would never see him again. The next morning, however, she saw him standing on the same platform. He noticed her too. This time he approached with a fresh cup of coffee. "For yesterday," he said. Sophie laughed. "You didn't have to do that." "I know," he replied. "But I wanted to." His name was Noah. They talked for only a few minutes before their trains arrived, but Sophie found herself smiling for the rest of the day. The following morning, Noah was waiting again. This time they talked about work. The day after that, they talked about favorite movies. Soon, their short conversations became part of their daily routine. Every morning they met at the station before catching different trains. Sophie began waking up excited to see him. If Noah arrived late, she felt disappointed. If he made her laugh, her entire day became better. Weeks passed, and their friendship grew stronger. They learned many things about each other. Noah worked as a photographer for a travel magazine. He loved exploring new places and capturing beautiful moments with his camera. Sophie loved hearing his stories. In return, she told him about the bakery and the customers she met each day. One Saturday morning, Noah asked, "Would you like to have lunch together?" Sophie felt her heart beat faster. "I'd love to." Their first lunch lasted nearly 3 hours. They talked and laughed so easily that neither noticed how much time had passed. After lunch, Noah showed Sophie some of his photographs. She was amazed by his talent. "These are beautiful," she said. Noah smiled. "Thank you. But my favorite picture hasn't been taken yet." "What's that?" Sophie asked. He looked at her for a second before answering. "I'll know when I see it." Sophie felt her cheeks become warm. As the months passed, they spent more time together. They walked by the river, visited museums, and explored small towns on weekends. For the first time in years, Sophie felt truly happy. Yet she was also afraid. She cared about Noah more than she wanted to admit. The idea of losing him scared her. One evening, while they watched the sunset near the river, Noah seemed unusually quiet. "What's wrong?" Sophie asked. Noah took a deep breath. "I received an offer for a photography project." Sophie smiled. "That's wonderful." But Noah did not smile back. "The project is in another country. For 1 year." Sophie's heart sank. She tried to hide her disappointment. "Wow, that's a big opportunity." Noah nodded. "It is." Neither spoke for several moments. Sophie knew how important photography was to him. She wanted to be supportive, but the thought of him leaving made her sad. Over the next few weeks, they continued spending time together, but both knew a difficult decision was coming. Finally, one evening, Noah asked Sophie to meet him at the train station where they had first met. Rain was falling lightly, just like the day they had bumped into each other months before. Sophie arrived feeling nervous. Noah was waiting near the platform. "I've been thinking about the project," he said. Sophie nodded quietly. Noah looked directly into her eyes. It's an amazing opportunity. Then you should take it, Sophie said softly. Noah smiled. I turned it down. Sophie stared at him in surprise. What? Noah laughed nervously. For months I kept asking myself what mattered most. The answer was always the same. Sophie's heart raced. And what was the answer? Noah stepped closer. You. For a moment, Sophie could not speak. She had imagined hearing those words many times, but now that they were real, she felt overwhelmed. Noah continued. I don't know what the future looks like, but I know I want you to be part of it. Tears filled Sophie's eyes. You already are part of mine, she whispered. Noah smiled and gently took her hand. Then, under the station lights while the rain fell softly around them, he kissed her. It was not a dramatic movie moment. There were no fireworks or crowds cheering. Yet for Sophie it was perfect. The months that followed were some of the happiest of her life. They supported each other's dreams, celebrated successes together, and faced challenges as a team. Noah continued building his photography career, and Sophie eventually opened her own bakery. They encouraged each other every step of the way. 2 years later, Noah invited Sophie to the train station one more time. Why are we here? She asked, laughing. Noah smiled. Because this is where everything started. He reached into his pocket and held out a small ring. Sophie's eyes widened immediately. Sophie, he said, a spilled cup of coffee changed my life. Every day since then has been better because of you. Will you marry me? Tears rolled down her cheeks as she nodded. Yes, she said. 1,000 times yes. People nearby began clapping as Noah slipped the ring onto her finger. Sophie laughed through happy tears. Looking around the station, she remembered all the mornings they had spent talking before work. She remembered the friendship, the laughter, and the love that had grown from a simple accident. Sometimes people spend years searching for love in complicated places. But for Sophie, love arrived on a rainy morning at a train station, carrying a cup of coffee and a nervous smile. And from that moment forward, her life was never the same again.